I watched as the Prime Minister of Australia publicly apologised to me through the media, while privately his team actively discredited and undermined my loved ones.
Prime Minister, is this true?
I have no knowledge of that, and I would never instruct that, Mr. Speaker.
Members
I would
on the
never
left.
instruct such a thing, Mr. Speaker. I would never do that.
Has the Prime Minister asked his office if what Ms Brittany Higgins said is true? If not, why not? I ask for the fourth time. Prime Minister, is that true?
I have no knowledge of that being done, Mr. Speaker, and I refer the member to my previous answers on the same question.
I ask for the 12th time. Is it true the Prime Minister's staff sought to undermine Brittany Higgins' loved ones?
I have no information to suggest that, Mr. Speaker.
Can you categorically say that your office hasn't been backgrounding against one of her loved ones?
People make allegations all the time, second, third hand, but there's no one has raised that with my Chief of Staff out of the gallery, no.
Has the Prime Minister asked his staff if they undermined Brittany Higgins' loved ones? Does he deny his office undermined Brittany Higgins' loved ones?
Following my interview this morning on ABC AM this morning, my Chief of Staff received confidential information, not the matter the member is referring to, but confidential information from a primary and direct source regarding these matters. And in response, and based on that information, I have asked my Chief of Staff to commence a process in accordance with advice from the Department of Finance for dealing with complaints against staff members. We will now follow that process, Mr. Speaker, in dealing with that matter.
Laura Tingle, 730's Chief Political Correspondent. Laura, what does that last answer mean?
No idea, Lee. Complete gibberish as far as I can tell. I mean, what the Prime Minister did this morning was, having sort of said, oh, I don't know about this, and for 2 weeks apparently didn't ask anybody in his office, oh, guys, anybody know anything about this? He then says, well, it couldn't have been true because nobody's rung the Chief of Staff about it. Well, who knew that was what you had to do? New process altogether. And then he gave that answer in the House, which really, when you actually dissect it, didn't mean anything at all, but seemed to imply that, in fact, maybe somebody did actually respond. And why wouldn't they? And of course, Brittany Higgins responded.
As I mentioned, since Tuesday, the Prime Minister's been looking for a way to move the conversation forward on these issues. The latest was an interview with Tracy Grimshaw on A Current Affair this evening. Here's a clip.
When you say you've had an anonymous information, does it suggest that staffers or a staffer were briefing against Brittany Higgins' partner?
Well, it was both a direct source, so spoke directly to my Chief of Staff, and it was a primary source, so someone who allegedly had witnessed this. So we have a process for dealing with that, and I think it's important that with things like this that I allow how you deal with these matters and to be done properly.
If it happened, what is your view of that?
Well, as I said in the Parliament when this was suggested, this is not something I would ever condone, and Brittany herself has indicated that.
Prime Minister, has one person in this place paid a price for what happened to Brittany Higgins and how it was handled, except for Brittany Higgins?
I think many people are paying the price. So when I say a price, I don't mean in terms of a justice price. What I'm saying is, and it's a price I think we all have to pay to be part of this conversation, because it's really hard. It's really confronting. It's really difficult.
So are you saying Christian Porter and Linda Reynolds still retain your full confidence?
They will continue to play a very important role in my cabinet.
Okay. Not necessarily the current roles, though.
Well, when I make judgments about those things, I'll announce them.
It sounds like they're not necessarily going to play those current roles.
Well, when I make those announcements and
when
I
are you
consider
going to make
those things,
announcements?
when I'm in a position to do that.
Okay.
Laura Tingle's with me. Laura, what stood out to you in that interview?
Well, I think the long and short of two of the crucial issues, Lee, were Christian Porter and Linda Reynolds don't continue to hold his confidence. And yes, somebody has been accused of backgrounding against Brittany Higgins' partner. That's the bottom line of those two things. But the other really powerful message out of the whole interview, which was a really tough interview, was that Tracy Grimshaw put a lot of really tough questions to the Prime Minister, and he continues to not answer them. He continues to basically fob things off, say there will be processes, it's all very complicated. But the bottom line is, she was saying to him, you are treating this issue as a political problem. You treated Brittany Higgins as a political problem, the march by tens of thousands of women as a political problem. You didn't treat it as a serious one, and he still hasn't addressed that issue.
So he's looking for a circuit breaker. He hasn't been able to get that this week, despite that major press conference earlier in the week. What are his options from here?
His options are to do the cabinet reshuffle, though the suggestion that they're going to put Michaelia Cash into Attorney Generals still creates problems. This is a minister who declined to be interviewed by the police about an earlier controversy in which she was involved. So there's not clear area, I don't think, on a reshuffle. And then on this broader issue, the obvious thing for him to do is to get a really quick response out to the Sex Discrimination Commission report they've been sitting on for 12 months. But the issues that they want to be talking about, the issues that affect everyday people, the vaccine rollout, the economic impact of ending JobKeeper and JobSeeker, it's going to be very hard to get any clear air on those things because he hasn't been able to find, he find it in himself to say, actually, we've stuffed this up and we've got to completely change the way we do things.
Laura Tingle, thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.